Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam, sallallahu sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to open to our program here at Sharjah Media Corporation. And alhamdulillah, by Allah's mercy and grace, we have an opportunity to speak to you again about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the creator and sustainer of all things. And we hope and pray that each and every one of you is inspired to come closer to your Lord and to get to know Him. It is a time when the world is in turmoil and people on different levels, as always, on different levels of that set of circumstance and situation, and people looking for solutions. So Islam offers the solutions, and those solutions are actually very clear for those who wish to see. And some of those solutions we see in this world presently and some in the hereafter. Now, unfortunately, that most of us are orientated towards what we see in this world, and we think that this is everything. We think that whatever you have in this life is your claim to fame, for lack of a better description. But we ask a question, is that really the case? Is this really it? Do you really believe that this is the beginning and the end of your existence? Well, we don't believe that. Well, we don't believe that. We believe that this is the beginning, but it is not the end. And the end is eternal. And the person who just looks at this world only and concentrates his efforts only in worldly pursuits is the loser, even though he may be projected as being successful. And we're not saying that this has to be a person who is negative. We're not saying someone who's necessarily doing wrong things. I'm not saying that at all. The person could be doing very good and doing a lot of very good work. But if his work is only limited, his understanding is only limited to this world and that which he achieves in this world, then he is just limited to this world. And if he thinks, or she thinks that this is expansive, for example, let's take a person who is a global personality, is well known throughout the world. And that can be something very beneficial for him. At the same time, it could be something very harmful, depending upon what images he is presenting. But if we were just to take, for those of us that think that this world is big, if we just look at what Allah has created, if we look at just what we see of this earth compared to the galaxy, it's very small. And if we continue on and on and on, we see that our world as we know it is just a speck. And that's just within the first heaven of what Allah has created. And there's 7 heavens and 7 skies. So really, what are we doing? If we settle down and perceive of our life on this earth, which is a very short time compared to the amount of time that this world has been in existence, and none of us know how long it is going to exist, but we do know and we do believe that it is going to conclude. And the eternity will be 2 only. There will be hell and there will be a paradise and no in between. So the person who doesn't accept that, he will be the loser. So the question I'm going to ask all of our viewers, where do you stand? And there's no such thing as, well, I don't know, or I don't want to choose, or I choose neither. There's no such thing as neither. I'm neutral. There's no neutral. This isn't something that people feel comfortable in. There's a comfort zone for them being non-committal, but it's not realistic in relationship to our existence in this world and our demise, in the reality of the hereafter. Now, there are people who are doubtful of all these things, and their doubts, in many instances, make them feel comfortable. And there are others who are doubtful and they're uncomfortable, but they're not pursuing and trying to gain the understanding of where the truth lies. So what is the condition? That's like a man who has all the resources to gain a deeper understanding of his life and existence, but yet and still he's just digging himself in a pit and throwing sand on his head. And all of us would say that's ridiculous. This is a very foolish person. But this is unfortunately where many of us stand today, not realizing that this is our condition, because we have done what? We have submitted ourselves to our present condition. We have become satisfied in many instances and accepted that circumstance that we find ourselves in. And unfortunately, many people, due to a lack of self-image, think that they cannot do any better. That, well, I was created like this, so it was meant for me to be like so, and I cannot move from this position. And there are exploiters tyrannical individuals who exploit them and keep them in that mentality for their own benefit. And of course, they won't, the exploiters, the tyrants, we've talked about them on many occasions, they will not escape. Everyone will have to come before Allah. No one will escape, and everyone will have justice. And Jabir Rani'ala reported, I heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, every night there is a special time during which whatever a Muslim asks, again, whatever a Muslim asks, Allah of any good relating to this life or the hereafter, it will be granted to him, and this moment comes every night. Listen to this. Again, I'll repeat it. Every night, the person who gets up in the night and asks Allah of any good relating to his life or the hereafter, it will be granted to him. And it comes every night. So now people say, well, brother, you know, you Muslims, you know, what makes you so special? You know, I have a friend, I have a cousin, I have a husband, I have a wife. They're Muslims, but they don't pray. You know, they drink alcohol, they do this, 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 and this. What makes them so special? You're telling me that they could just get up in the night and pray and they're going to get whatever they want? And not just that, you're talking about the hereafter, which lasts forever. And those people, they're going to be elevated in the hereafter. They're going to get paradise forever, where they can have everything and they can have a life that's above and beyond anything that we can imagine or conceive of in this world. We need to understand something, that we must implement in our life the laws and guidelines of Islam, which come from the Quran and the Sunnah meaning the life of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he showed us how to implement the Quran in our life on a daily basis, how to live in the correct way, in the way that is in obedience to Allah in every aspect of our life. So there are conditions, and we need to understand those conditions, and there are conditions in everything, aren't they? If we seek perfection in this world and whatever it might be that we're striving for, if we just say in a career path, the person who is more perfect in that particular element isn't he distinct from others? Of course he is without question. So similarly, the person who is most obedient to Allah, who disciplines himself or herself to the obedience of Allah, is distinct from other people. But that does not give any one of us an excuse not to strive for excellence, not to strive, not to believe, not to accept, not to implement, not to try on a daily basis to improve ourselves, to improve our relationship with Allah, to understand our condition presently, to understand the condition that we're facing, that we're going to be challenged with in the grave, that we're going to be challenged with on the day of judgment, to prepare our families for that which is coming, to inform as many people as we possibly can about the reality of this world and the reality of the hereafter. Whether they accept or reject, it is not up to us, but it is up to us to try to present that message in a way in which it is easy for people to comprehend. So all of us have choices. We need to look at something. We have an enemy. We have an enemy. It is not 1, 2, 3. And many of us have not identified our enemy. And sometimes the biggest enemy is ourselves. First of all, our own desires. That we become undisciplined and we become slaves of our desires. So the first level is to look at what is the condition of my own desires. Am I out of control? What kind of discipline do I have? And what is the criteria that I use for discipline? This is also very important. Some of the most disciplined people that we know are people in particular services, but they're alcoholics, drug addicts, thieves, liars, killers, but they're very disciplined in whatever activities that they are involved in, whatever that might be, and precise in terms of interacting with them. But at the same time, they are engaged in unlawful activities, and whatever circles that they may travel in, it's okay in those circles, but it's clearly disobedient to Allah, our Creator. So what would be their condition? So discipline is not enough. It's not enough in itself. It is discipline in obeying the commandments of Allah. That is distinct from anything else that we do in this world. And this is the challenge for us. Modern society is giving the invitation to just do your thing. Do whatever you want to do as you please. With, of course, there are some rules and regulations, but generally speaking, from a sociological point of view, man has become worse than animals in many instances. And now people don't even realize that. They've lost recognition of the fact that this is a mentality. These are the actions of animals. But animals don't do many of the things that men do. So if we look at this and we look at our consciousness and our awareness and we see what is our condition, we can correct that. And the correction comes from submitting ourselves to our Lord, our Creator, our Sustainer. And Abu Hurairah, reported the Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah show mercy to a man who gets up during the night and performs salat prayers, awakens his wife to pray, and if she refuses, he sprinkles with water on the face to make her get up. May Allah show mercy to a woman who gets up during the night and performs prayers, salat, awakens her husband for the same purpose, and if he refuses, she sprinkles water on his face. So we see, which we just mentioned, the significance of this very simple prayer of getting up in the night when we're in deep sleep and praying with the belief that surely Allah hears us, surely Allah will assist us. And there are millions of people today in dire circumstances, and we need not talk about that. I think all of us are aware and conscious of the present circumstances that the world is in. And unfortunately, many people, due to the influence of Satan, and there are a lot of people who say we don't believe in Satan, our avowed enemy, after our own desires is Satan, what does he do? He continues to sow the seeds of disruption and chaos. So wherever we look and we see chaos and confusion, we can see his work. And if we see the people who they dwell on that, then we can say that these people are agents of Satan. We can't say so-and-so by name, he is a Satan. Allah knows best. But his actions, his deeds show us clearly that this distinctly is the ways and means of Satan, and ultimately the aim to do what? We need to understand that, because there are people who are mishmash about this, that his sole intention is to take every single human being to the hellfire. That's the sole intention, by any means necessary. So the person who says, well, I don't believe in Satan. I know a lot of human beings, they're really satanic in their efforts. That may very well be the case, but they're not Satan. They're distinct from him. We understand something, that Satan was around when Adam was created. We need to understand that. When Allah created Adam, Satan was in existence. So he knows us very well. So we need to understand that. We need to understand where is our protection. And those people who think they don't need protection and those people who don't take protection, then you leave yourself open. So some people say, well, brother, that's kind of spooky, what you're telling about. I don't know if I really believe that. That sounds kind of shaky. I says, well, of course, Satan doesn't want you to believe that. He doesn't want you to understand that. He doesn't want you to do what you can do to protect yourself from him. He does not want you to understand who he is and what he's doing and what his real motive is. He doesn't want that. So we have to get that for ourselves. And if we look at our lives, I think every single human being, if you sit down and analyze your life and look at different circumstances that have happened to you or that people that you knew or experiences that you're aware of, you can look and see, well, this has been kind of calculated. This person has been kind of misled, but there was not necessarily an individual who led him astray, or there could be an individual or a group of individuals who have so-called, for lack of a better description, adopted him or brainwashed him, convinced him, whatever terminology is that you want to use, to go astray from a straight and narrow path. And in many instances today, this has become common. Well, I'm just with a group of friends, and these friends are involved in all kinds of illicit activities, but it has become common for a particular group to do this. It's become sometimes branded or the thing to do or the people to be with, whereas their activities are very clearly and distinctly those activities that will take us away from the remembrance of Allah. But it's been popularized by whatever means it may be, and as a result of it, people follow it. And that is the path that will take us directly to the hellfire. So, my dear beloved viewers, take the time out now, while you have time, to reflect on your life and to correct your life in accordance to the commandments of Allah. You have time now, you're living, you're breathing. Take the time out now. Tomorrow is not promised. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Broadcasting Authority. And alhamdulillah, Allah has allowed us to spend this time with you. And we hope you've gotten benefit from us. And we look forward to seeing you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.